Alrighty, so I know everybody want me to talk about this game first, but unfortunately, I won't be talking about this game until a little later into this video because we also had one other game that happened tonight between FC Cincinnati and Rayados, and people forget that as much as this is the game that everybody talks about. This one is the Brandon Vasquez derby, as Brandon Vasquez for the first time playing against his former team and the team that of course sold him to Monterrey and that he's really excelled ever since he gone to Rayados and Liga MX. And of course, it has to be him. That is the guy that basically scored the winning goal for Monterrey and basically kind of hauled his old team back in this game. Now, early on, Bupenza curls it wide from close range. I also mentioned, but in the preview earlier too, that this actually also turns out to be a nightmare night for FC Cincinnati going forward on the attack, and especially for Aaron Bupenza. I mean, he must be kicking himself at the end of this game, the fact that he did not score a goal in this game. But on the other end, Vasquez would hit one right to Salentano in the 12th minute, and I thought it was a very open game, at least early on in this one. There was a lot of space there in the midfield, and at time the midfield kind of didn't exist in this game. Though Andrade did deny Bear on the doorstep of goal in the 15th minute, and then Bear looked like he scored the opening goal for Cincinnati, but unfortunately he was in an offside position, and rightfully so. I mean, you look on the replay, he was um, about a yard or two offside there. So the goal, of course, didn't count it. But there was no doubt that the momentum was with Cincinnati. They were knocking on the door, but the question is, can they capitalize? Well, there was a huge shout for a penalty for Cincinnati as they feel like Buka was brought down in the box. Though I think in the end they got this one right because it didn't look like there was any contact that Pavel Buka felt. It looks like maybe he trying to dive and maybe bait the referee to call a penalty, and the ref basically says no. And I think nowadays, in the days of VAR, you know that it's going to be harder to try to do that and get a penalty in your favor. But also, not to mention, this is CONCACAF. I mean, especially when it comes to CONCACAF and when it comes to MLS team facing against Liga MX team, you're not going to get those call in your favor, or at least more times than not, we usually never see calls that goes in favor of MLS team when it comes to those kind of play. But still, I think in the end it was the right call. I don't think that was the penalty. But in the 23rd minute, really out of nowhere, Monterrey gets the opening goal, and again, it has to be him. It has to be Brandon Vasquez, the one that scored from Mesa to give Monterrey a 1-0 lead. And I gotta say, whoever the script writer is for tonight in these CONCACAF Champions Cup game, they must be on fire tonight. I mean, they definitely cooked up some big scripts in terms of both of these games, and I would also say that they might have gone a little bit overboard in terms of the script writing in both of these games too, because again, as we'll get to this game, everybody's gonna say that this game is rigged. But yeah, no, it has to be him. Brendan Vasquez, the one that scored against his former team, though that probably shouldn't have happened if Saltano was able to save that one. I mean, I feel like this was a very savable goal from Roman Saltano, and I said this about last season too. As good as Roman Saltano has been at time, I still don't think that he is elite, and that there is still a point that I have seen him make some mistake and of course have some that I feel like he conceded that probably should have been savable. And I know Cincinnati fans won't admit that, but yeah, this is an example of it. I mean, this one, it was relatively weakly hit from Brandon Vasquez, and the caliber that Salentano should be, he absolutely should have done better and parried that one away. But yeah, that gave Monterrey a 1-0 lead, and that was also the first shot for Rayados, and just really completely against the run of play because up to that point, Cincinnati was by far the better team. Bupenza did try to answer, but he skies one over the bar in the 27th minute, and I really think that goal that Cincinnati conceded, it completely derailed their momentum. I mean, you can it's had a sense that before the Vasquez goal, looked like Cincinnati was about to get the opening goal, but just getting punched in the mouth there on the other end, or shall I say, getting a sucker punch on the other end by their former player, just kind of killed the momentum, and they just doesn't look like they were threatening on the attack, and that Rioters was actually the one that was starting to control the possession and control the game. And then I heard that there was also boos every time Vasquez touched the ball, and I wrote question mark with exclamation mark because I'm shocked the fact that Cincinnati fans would boo Brendan Vasquez. Yes, I understand that he scored against you, and that I've also would say that Brendan Vasquez he did not celebrate when he scored that goal, and rightfully so, because he have said that he really loves Cincinnati, and he want to thank all that this team has done to really propel his career to the next step. So the fact that I'm hearing boos from the Cincinnati fan for Vasquez, and that Vasquez is very well loved in the Cincinnati fan base. I believe they even did a tribute before the game of welcoming Brandon Vasquez back at TKO Stadium. But the fact that those kind of cheers kind of become boos during the game, and again, I understand that he scored against you, but that's kind of call for the fact that they started booing Vasquez mainly just because he scored uh, against you just like that. But that being said, in the 37th minute, Acosta would hit it right to Adrada before Vasquez would also hit one right to Sautano in the first minute of stoppage time, and we do have to halftime with Rayados leading 1-0. Now in the second half, Bear cannot poke one in from a good pass from Acosta in the 50th minute. This was a rough game for Corey Bear. I mean, not only a goal that was chopped off earlier, but there's been times where in the final third he just didn't look that good. Though I would say that probably is kind of the same case in terms of this entire Cincinnati attack. This Cincinnati attack was just not good whatsoever, and a lot of that is due to what I'll just mention in just a bit. But as I mentioned, Cincinnati was on the front foot. They were looking for the equalizer, but at the same time, the final ball was just not there. Like every time when they get into that final third plate, that final ball is either being intercepted by a Rayados player or just kind of overcooked or a little short in terms of it. So that being said, in the 56th minute, Upenza. Oh my goodness, this is one that he's gonna be thinking about all night long. The fact that he missed an absolute sitter from about 17 yards out, and it's not like he didn't have time to settle this. He had time to settle this and set himself up to score. And from that range, I mean, especially with how good Aaron Bupenza has been for Cincinnati, that's always should be in the back of the net. And the fact that that did not go into the back of the net, yeah, not only that moment was going to haunt Cincinnati, but that's when I knew that Cincinnati's probably not going to score. Because when you have literally your goal scorer and the guy that, in a position where it's probably the best for a guy to score from that sort of area, it's got to be Aaron Bopensa. And the fact that he missed it, you're in for a bit of a long night. But I also said that Cincinnati, besides the fact that the final ball was not there, they were just overpassing, and they just looked like they were trying to culminate the perfect attack. Where I mentioned before how sometimes when teams decide to overpass, it can be a very frustrating thing because I don't understand why some teams decided to want to have the perfect attack. And heck, when I watched this, I'm not a Cincinnati fans, but even I was getting frustrated with the amount of times they were overpassing and trying to set up for that perfect moments to shoot a perfect attack because there's really no need to do so. I mean, all you need to do is basically set up the play, and if you have a good window or even a small window to shoot, take a shot at goal. Don't pass to another teammate thinking that he has a better opportunity to score because more times or not, and as I mentioned with Cincinnati in this game about how them being very poor in the final third, there was no reason for them to overpass and basically set up that perfect attack. And that, as I said, it was kind of getting very infuriating. And I can't imagine how Cincinnati fans must have feel, even as me as a neutral watching this was getting very frustrated with the way that Cincinnati was operating on the attack. But that being said, in the 61st minute, Bear would hit one right to Adrada. But then in the 70th minute, we saw a red card in this game as Aguirre, who just came on for Rayados, got himself sent off in this one. Apparently, they go to VAR to see whether or not if there was a violent conduct that was committed between Aguirre and Bear, and VAR says yes. VAR apparently says yes, and I think what happened was that Aguirre definitely put his hands on Bear's face, and that I think Corey Bear definitely kind of made a bit of a meal out of that, and that I also would say that this is kind of one of those rare times where I see an MLS team actually get a call that goes in their way, because I've seen that happen so many times in CONCACAF with Liga MX's team kind of getting away with putting hands on the face of the opponent, or decide to do a bit of a dirty play, and they they let it unpunished. But yeah, this is one of the rare times that they actually surely caught that, and then Liga MX's team, especially in Aguirre this case, he was not left unpunished because of it of his actions. So yeah, he got himself sent off in this one. Rayados were down to 10 men, but even with them down to 10 men, it didn't feel like it caused them any problem, because they were still attacking. Medina would pose it wide from close range. Acosta then plays it short on a 20 yard or 23-yard free kick that no one gets to. And I want to mention that because that pretty much sums up the night for Cincinnati. They just look absolutely out of sort on the attack, being way too cute at times on the attack and just overpassing for no reason whatsoever. Meza then hits the side netting from close range before Andrade would deny Santos on the doorstep of goal. And then on the other end, Salatano had to deny Berarami from long range in the 83rd minute. And despite the fact that there's rumor of Berarami potentially going to go to the Portland Timbers, he was still in the starting 11 in this one as well. And I think if you're a Timbers fan watching this, you better hope that you potentially are going to sign Herman Betarame, even if it's going to be for like a huge amount of money, because he definitely looked good in this game as well, alongside with Brandon Vasquez. And then I also wrote, you can't you can't tell Rayados were down to 10 men, because they were still putting the pressure for a second goal. And then on the 3rd minute of stoppage time, Bupenza had another opportunity to tie the game up, but he hits it wide from point blank. I mean, again, that just kind of sums up the night for Cincinnati. And I would say that we could even go another 50 or 60 minutes in this game, and Cincinnati probably wouldn't score, because it was just a very frustrating night on the attacking end. It just felt like nothing was going right on the attack. And some of them, of course, is self-inflicted because of the way of them trying to set up the perfect attack, and most of the time or not, they just worked it wrong. And because of that, they lose this one nothing against Rayados. Shots in this one, 12 shots for the 7 that Monterrey has, 5 shots on goal for the 4 that Cincinnati has, 4 shots off target compared to 2 that Rayados had, no shots as blocked for the 3 that Cincinnati has, and possession wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that Monterrey has. And as I said earlier in my preview video about Cincinnati, unlike other team like Orlando and the Union, where they got a 0-0 draw and they have an impossible task of trying to get a win down in Mexico to move on. Well, Cincinnati has even a tougher task. Not only the fact that they have to win down in in Mexico and down in Monterrey, which is a place that is pretty much the graveyard for all MLS team in terms of trying to get a win on the road, but they also need to score more than or they need to win more than 2 to advance to the next round. And judging by how they play in this game, if they play like that down in Monterrey, yeah, I guarantee you that's not going to lead to any success whatsoever. Overall, just a very frustrating game for this Cincinnati team. That again, it's just one of those nights where not only the finishing wasn't there for this team, but also just them self-inflicting mistake of not being clinical in the final third, and just very unlike Cincinnati and unlike what we see a Pat Nolan team has done in the past. But now moving on into the next game, and I'll probably put the timestamp in terms of this game in the description below, because this is, of course, the game that I'm pretty sure everybody want me to talk about. And I know that instantly there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say that this game is rigged. In fact, I won't be surprised in the comment section, people are going to say that this game is rigged. And while, yes, there were definitely some controversial decision that kind of goes in favor of Inter Miami, I'll just say this, and I'll say this to the end, whenever teams blow a 2-0 lead against Inter Miami, you do not switch off against Inter Miami, no matter what minute it is on the clock. And in this game, really, Nashville kind of switched off in stoppage time, especially the goal that they conceded, which turns out to be the equalizer for Miami in this one. And yeah, now that could come back to haunt them heading into the second leg. But that being said, at least early on, it was going all to plan for Nashville. As 4 minutes into this game, and keep in mind, I was still doing the preview while this game was on, so I actually didn't see this goal live. As Jacob Schaffelberg would score from more to make it 1-0 in favor of Nashville. They call Jacob Schaffelberg the Nova Scotia Messi, which I kind of believe that that is the case why he showed up in this game because when he basically faced against Messi, I mean, I guess you can say the Nova Scotia Messi basically won this one. I mean, not only the fact that he also scored more goal in this one than the actual Messi in this game, but yeah, he was putting on a clinic in this game, and yeah, that gives Nashville a 1-0 lead. Then there was a scramble in the box that saw Mukhtar shot blocked from close range. Mukhtar, of course, making his return in this game, and he also got a new contract extension too, and they actually did a little bit of a almost kind of like a mini ceremony of him signing a contract extension, which rightfully so, because he's basically Mr. Nashville and he's pretty much the attack of this Nashville SC team. It makes sense that you want to make it a big deal and just tell the fans that hey, he's pretty much the heart and soul of this attack, and he's at least going to be staying for another couple of seasons. But there was no doubt that I thought Nashville was feeling it. They were pressing to get another one. Though Messi missed one from a point blank effort in the 13th minute, which is just a quick reminder that things can change a bit. And this is also the thing when you face against Inter Miami. It doesn't matter how dominant you are in a game, as long as Messi can craft a chance or some of his friends can craft a chance, all of a sudden things can take a turn the other way, and we kind of saw it in this game as well. But in the 17th minute, Mule would head sit over the bar before Calendar would deny Mukhtar from long range in the 22nd minute. I thought the Miami defense were all over the place, and again, this is another thing I have concern about Miami throughout the season. And I hate the fact that I'm beating the dead horse again. Talk about how the defense at times look really suspect, and this was kind of example of they have no idea how to deal with the transitional play that Nashville has had, and not to mention also those turnovers. It popped up in this game at times, and it looks like it was going to be a rough night for this Miami defense. Though that being said, in the 40th minute, Messi did try to go through the entire Nashville defense, but his shot was blocked away when he decided to go for goal. Then there was a shout for a handball for Miami that was not given in the 45th minute, and then Messi had a chance on the free kick, and pretty much the 27,000 so inside the stadium had their phones ready, thinking that that was going to go in. It did not. It hit the wall there. And as a result, heading into halftime, Nashville has a 1-0 lead. And it did not take long for them to make it 2-0. In fact, I literally was writing down the boards and I basically tuned in to this second half a little late. So I also missed this goal from Jacob Schaffberg. So I want to formally apologize to Nashville fans and certainly formally apologize to Jacob Schaffelberg the fact that I missed both of his goals that he scored in this one. But yeah, he scored here from Davis to make it 2-0 in favor of Nashville. And you know Jacob Schaffer is feeling it when he can score from long range. I mean, there's a reason why he's a Nova Scotia Messi, and he's basically showing the actual Messi that yeah, I think I'm gonna be the Messi of this game instead of the actual one. But that being said, in the 47th minute, Mule would skies one from long range, and then he had another chance from close range. In fact, he put a wonderful curling ball that just goes wide there, and you can tell Nashville was smelling blood. Like they were pressing for the third goal. The momentum was all with Nashville. Miami looked like they clearly have not came out of the locker room and started on time in the second half. And you can also hear at Geodes Park, it was rocketing. Like this is the thing about Geodes Park. When it's full like this is one of the best atmosphere in the league. And you can definitely see it was a party atmosphere inside the stadium. But that part the atmosphere quickly came to an end in the 52nd minute when Miami would get one back. And guess who? It's Lionel Messi. He scored from Suarez to make it 2-1 in this one. Just a vintage Messi goal, scoring on his left foot. I mean, whenever Messi gets on his left foot, you better close him down with no space whatsoever and get ready to block that because when he hits that one on the left foot, it's going to go into the back of the net most of the time. And this time, Nashville didn't do a good job in terms of closing down. Messi saw the space. And again, you don't even need to give him that much space. If he can find just a little space, he's going to bury that one easily. And yeah, that made it 2-1 in this one. That party atmosphere at Geodes Park was definitely quiet, though you can definitely hear a large contention of Inter Miami supporter, or at least I would say people that pay to go to the game just to see Messi score and see his friends play definitely was cheering after that goal was in. But in the 57th minute, it looked like it was tied up at two apiece when Gomez puts the ball into the back of net. The problem was the goal was disallowed for offside. And again, this is where I'm also going to go back to people saying that if you think that this game is rigged, then yeah, explain these kind of situation, and also kind of explain to me how you think that Miami got all the call in this one, because some of these calls that I've seen made was actually really correct, and this is another example of it. I mean, yes, Gomez was pretty close to being stayed on an onside position, but I think in the end that was the right call, and the goal, of course, was disallowed for offside. But according to people that say that if this game is rigged, or the referees are in Miami's favor, then they probably would have given that, and that game would have been tied up at two apiece. But that being said, just like that, I think that I wrote that the momentum was all with Miami, because it doesn't take that much for Miami to get the momentum back to them, and now Nashville, who in about 10 minutes ago was in complete control, they looked like they were on the ropes of potentially conceding that second goal. And then in the 67th minute, we saw some pushing and shoving as Suarez and Godoy share some displeasure between both of them. I mean, just a reminder that this is a CONCACAF game. You know that as we get deeper into the nighttime, and by the time this is like already around 9:30 local time, CONCACAF After Dark basically exists. And not to mention, both of these teams do not like each other whatsoever. But I also thought that the pace kind of started to drop. It feels like, at times it was at a straw where Miami was just kind of passing the ball around. Maybe this is kind of when I think both of these teams realized that, yeah, let's not go for another goal that can really take a big turn in terms of this aggregate score. I mean, if you're Nashville, you don't want to go on the attack and get another goal when that means that you're gonna get yourself exploited on the defensive end, because that's kind of how it was, at least between minute 52 all the way up to about minute 62. But on the other hand, if you're Inter Miami, you don't want to also go for on the attack, knowing that the defense wasn't really that good in this game, and that if you get caught on the transition, then yeah, all of a sudden the tie would look a lot different. So it was almost kind of like a game of chicken in terms of the way that both of these teams don't really want to commit. And this is also kind of the thing we see in first leg tie as well, where teams maybe be a little bit conservative at time, though that quickly changes, because in the 80th minute, it looked like Shaft Moore scored the third goal of this game, and this is a game where people will point out that maybe this is where the script is kind of written in pen, and that maybe this game is rigged because this goal was called back. But in the end, it is the right call. When you look on the replay, yes, it was pretty close that Check Moore was on in an onside position, and I would say that some people would argue the fact that that call was made relatively quickly, which I think I would at least kind of side on that, where I kind of was a little surprised with how close that offside was. They made the call relatively quick, but still, that is still offside. They even show a replay where they show the lines there, and you can see how close it was. Maybe about 3 or 4 foot offside. Well, actually, not even 3 or 4 foot. Maybe like a foot offside that Shaq Moore drift himself on the offside position on the attacking sequence. But then we heard that there was 7 minutes of stoppage time with Miami getting most of the possession, but not much that was happened. But that was just kind of a climax to what I think everybody will say that this is kind of where the script begins, and where people say it's rigged, because Miami we get the equalizer. In the fourth minute stoppage time, it's Luis Suarez scoring from Busquets to tie the game up at two apiece. And like I said, as much as I know people are gonna say that this moment is according to the script and this game is rigged, you gotta also question the defending there from Nashville. Again, just Luis Suarez getting wide open in the box and getting a free header like that. I mean, that was just criminal defending there from Nashville. And Nashville had, for most of this game, has defended well and stifled this Miami team. But like I said before, about teams facing against Inter Miami, you cannot switch off at any minute of the game, because if you switched off, like what we saw with Nashville did in this game, that of course happened. And it's no surprise that the game was tied up at two apiece, and that would be the final score of this game. As now the advantage, which at first looked like it was heavily in favor of Nashville when they took that 2-0 lead, now all of a sudden it's now in favor of Miami heading into the second leg, as they got the 2-2 draw and got the two away goal The shots in this one: 13 shots with the 6 that Nashville has, 6 shots on goal for the 3 that Nashville has, 7 shots off target for the 2 that Miami has, 5 shots off block for the none that Nashville has, and possession-wise, 70% possession compared to 30% possession that Nashville has scored in this game. And really, not much I need to add on in terms of what I've already talked about in terms of recapping this game. Like, again, just one more time, you cannot switch off against this Inter Miami team, no matter what, because they have some special talent on that team, including the greatest player of all time. And when you switched off, just like what we see Nashville did a couple of times in this one, they were rightfully punished, and now they're going to be facing a bit of a bit of a mountain in the second leg. I mean, there's no doubt that I think the second leg will be as excited thing as this first leg. I don't think that this second leg is going to be as dull, and I don't think. And another thing I will say about Inter Miami, as much as they got the result that they need, they got to realize that the job is not done. And in many ways, they got to realize that they cannot start off slow. Like, again, I mean, this has kind of been the theme I've seen with Miami, at least for most of these games, except for the Orlando game, where they tends to always start off slow, or they don't play an entire half, like what we saw in the RSL game, where they showed up in the first half and didn't show up in the second half. That's gonna be something that they're gonna have to do, because Nashville is not gonna go away. I think in the second leg it is gonna be as competitive as what we saw in the first leg, and that, yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we advertised to be. This, I've had a feeling this was gonna be probably the right up there in terms of one of the most interesting and intense kind of battle of a two-leg affair in the round of 16. And I would say that if it wasn't for the Super Classico between Chivas and America in the round of 16, this would be the match that everybody would be keeping an eye on, and might be the most hotly contested round of 16 match, because there's a history between both of these teams, and there's always a history that when both of these teams met, you're gonna get a good game. And I feel like that's gonna be the same case in that second leg next week down in Miami. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for my recap of both of these games. As always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this video. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.